Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Native War Paints Colors collection. I think this is technically called like Mr. Native War Paints Presents Colors, but for time's sake I'm just going to call it Colors. These are available right now. There are 7 polishes in the collection. They are all neon pastels with a kind of contrasting colored shimmer to them. I will link Native War Paints down below so you guys can check these out, and I will get on to the swatches. The first polish is called Bouquet of Lilacs, and this is a light pastel purple with kind of a pinky gold shimmer to it. So here is one coat of Bouquet of Lilacs. This one covers pretty well on the first coat. It's still just a tiny bit sheer. This one is a little bit thin. It does want to run. You can kind of see where after I've applied it, it's kind of gotten thinner on the top of my nail where it's run down the sides. So there is one coat of Bouquet of Lilacs. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Bouquet of Lilacs. This one covers pretty well on the second coat. It's not 100% opaque, and I'm trying to do very, very thin coats to avoid it running down the sides of the nail and thinning out on the top. I think as long as you do very, very thin coats, you could probably get away with 2. It's just not 100% opaque, so I will probably be doing a third. So there is 2 coats of Bouquet of Lilacs. It's not 100% opaque, so I am going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Bouquet of Lilacs. So this one covers completely in 3 coats. I am trying to do relatively thin coats to make sure that it stays evenly applied. It doesn't shift around on me. So there is 3 coats of Bouquet of Lilacs. This has a really, really good shimmer, but I do suggest wearing it with a top coat because I'm sure you noticed that it does dry matte, and with the top coat the shimmer really stands out. So again, that is Bouquet of Lilacs. So the next polish is called Honeydew Smoothies, and this is a light minty green with kind of like an orangey gold shimmer. So here is 1 coat of Honeydew Smoothies. This one is a little bit more sheer on the first coat, and I am trying to apply it very, very thin to, again, avoid it pooling around the outsides of my nail and thinning out the top. The formula in this one feels the same as the other ones. It's a little bit thin, but it's not too hard to work with. I do have to wipe my brush off on the bottle after the first application to make sure that I do a thin enough coat though. So there is 1 coat of Honeydew Smoothies. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Honeydew Smoothies. So this one covers better on 2 coats. It is building up, but it's not quite opaque yet. I am doing thin coats. I feel like you could get it opaque initially if you did a thick coat, but the thick coat is going to run down the sides and thin out at the top, and then it won't be opaque anymore. So I think thin coats are probably the best bet. So there is 2 coats of Honeydew Smoothies. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Honeydew Smoothies. So this one covers completely on 3 coats. The shimmer on this is really, really nice, and this is another one that will dry matte, so you will want to top coat it in order to have the shimmer stand out as much as possible. So there is 3 coats of Honeydew Smoothies. The next polish is called Amanda Loves Betsy, and this is a bubblegum pink with kind of a greenish gold shimmer. So here is 1 coat of Amanda Loves Betsy. This one covers pretty well on the first coat. The formula on this one feels like it might be a tiny bit thicker than the other one, so it's a little bit easier to work with. I am still trying to do thin coats though in case it's still thin enough to run to the sides. So there is 1 coat of Amanda Loves Betsy. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Amanda Loves Betsy. This one almost covers completely in 2 coats, but I can still see my nail line, so I'm going to do a third. These polishes all seem to have almost like a crelly kind of quality to them. So there is 2 coats of Amanda Loves Betsy. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Amanda Loves Betsy. So this one is completely opaque on 3 coats. It was almost opaque on 2. I could just still see my nail line. The shimmer in this stands out really well, and it will stand out more with a top coat because it does dry matte. So there is 3 coats of Amanda Loves Betsy. So the next polish is called Drops of Sunshine, and this is a neon yellow with an orangey gold shimmer. So here's one coat of Drops of Sunshine. So this one is pretty sheer on the first coat. Again, I'm trying to do thin coats to keep it from pooling on the sides and thinning on the top. The formula feels like most of the other ones. It's a little bit thin, so you do have to be careful. Just make sure you keep it under control. So there is one coat of Drops of Sunshine. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Drops of Sunshine. This one covers okay on the second coat. It is probably going to need a third because I can still see my nail line quite a bit. The formula is good. You have to be careful because it is a tiny bit thin, but it's still fairly easy to apply. So there is 2 coats of Drops of Sunshine. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Drops of Sunshine. This one covers pretty close to completely on 3 coats. It's not 100% opaque. I can still see through it a little bit, but I don't think it's worth thickening it up with a 4th coat because it is so close to opaque. So there is 3 coats of Drops of Sunshine. The next polish is called Orange Dreamsicle, and this is a pastel orange with a purpley pink flash. So here is 1 coat of Orange Dreamsicle. This one is sheer on the first coat. It is going to need a second. I am trying to be careful with the coats here. The formula feels like most of the other ones. It's a little bit thin, so you do have to be careful, but it's still easy to apply. So there is 1 coat of Orange Dreamsicle. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Orange Dreamsicle. This one covers pretty well on the second coat. I can still see my nail line a little bit though, so I'm going to do 3. The shimmer in all of these so far has stood out really, really well, but I would recommend a top coat just to make it stand out as much as possible. So there is 2 coats of Orange Dreamsicle. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Orange Dreamsicle. This one covers completely in 3 coats, but I am being careful to do thin coats. So there is 3 coats of Orange Dreamsicle. The more I look at it, the more I think that this one probably could benefit from another coat. I don't think this one was completely opaque in 3 coats, but like I said for another one, I don't remember which one it was, it's probably better just to go, this one is so close to being opaque, it's probably better just to take it with the 3 than to thicken it up with another one. The next polish is called 1990s Lipstick, and this is I think maybe a medium pink with a kind of purpley blue shimmer. This is it next to Amanda Loves Betsy, so you can see the difference. It's got a different color of shimmer in there, and the pinks are different tones. So here is 1 coat of 1990s lipstick. This one covers okay on the first coat. It looks like it is probably going to need 2. The formula is like the other ones. It's a tiny bit thin, so you have to be careful with it, but it is still fairly easy to apply. So there is 1 coat of 1990s lipstick. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of 1990s lipstick. This one almost covers 100% on 2 coats, but I can still see a little bit of my nail line, and since I don't really think that 3 is totally unreasonable, I'm going to add that 3rd coat just to try to cover it up. This is another one that the shimmer stands out wonderfully in, but it will be even more obvious if you use a good top coat. So there is 2 coats of 1990s lipstick. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a 3rd coat. So here is 3 coats of 1990s lipstick. So this one covers completely on 3 coats. So there is 3 coats of 1990s lipstick. And the last polish is called Bird's Nest in the Mailbox, and this is kind of a teal bluey green with a gold, kind of goldish yellow, nothing is one color apparently, shimmer inside of it. So here is 1 coat of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. This one covers okay on the first coat. Again, I am trying to do thinner coats. The formula on this is a bit thin, just like I think all of the other ones, most of the other ones. Amanda Loves Betsy felt a little bit thicker, but for the most part they've all been a little bit thin. So there is 1 coat of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. This one is almost completely opaque in 2 coats. I think it's one of the most opaque in 2 coats in the collection. I can still see a tiny bit of my nail line though, and like I said before, I don't really, I mean, this is because I'm not picky about a number of coats, but I don't really think 3 is horribly unreasonable. So I'm going to do a third one just to make sure it's 100% opaque. After 3, I start to get iffy, but I'm not too worried about doing 3. So there is 2 coats of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a third coat. So here is 3 coats of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. This one covers completely in 3 coats, and again, I'm doing thin coats, and I'm being careful not to push down too hard. You do have to be careful with these slightly thinner formulas, because they can kind of get unruly on you a little bit easier. I've been hitting my cuticle on just about all of them, but I'm not going to blame the polish for that because I'm pretty sure that's just me not paying attention. And there is 3 coats of Bird's Nest in the Mailbox. So my favorites in the collection are Bird's Nest in the Mailbox and Amanda Loves Betsy. I do really like the colors, but mainly it's because they were the easiest to work with. They were the most opaque in the 2 to 3 coats, and I feel like they were a little bit thicker. Maybe not so much Bird's Nest in the Mailbox, but Amanda Loves Betsy was a little bit thicker of a formula, not by much, but noticeably, and it made it a little bit easier to work with. If we're going by color though, Drops of Sunshine is my absolute favorite because it is that very like highlighter kind of yellowy green yellow. And so that is the Native War Paints Colors collection. I will link Native War Paints down below so you guys can check these out because these ones are available right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later.